And direct from Las Vegas, welcome to Proline. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We've got a lot to talk about on today's show. We're going to break down a pair of Wednesday baseball games, plus the NBA playoffs, the finals. They start on Thursday. It's one of the most anticipated series in a long time between the Warriors and the Cavaliers. We'll look at some early NFL odds as well. But first, Jim, I want to talk about subscribing to the channel. It's free. We want to get as many people in as possible, and you can tell them more.
You know, Dave, I'm really excited about what's going on right now. Go to ProlineTV.com. Click on the subscribe button. You'll get notifications on new videos coming up each and every day. Plus, you'll be sent a code so you can get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
I've been on a pretty good NBA run. That's been my strength right now. NBA playoffs, I believe it's 14-5 since the playoffs got underway. That includes Value Plus playing the Warriors in Game 7. Didn't win it by a lot, but all that matters is they got there, and that's what counts. Right now, 7 days for $7. You're going to get all my value plays in baseball, plus whatever I've got in these NBA finals. Call toll-free 1-855-472-2577. That's 1-855-472-2577. Jim, you've been on a big roast the books run, 24-15 NBA run, 40-22 Major League Baseball, and 12-1 on the top plays, those high rollers.
It's been amazing. 12-1 with my high roller platinum baseball releases. These plays are $500 a piece online. I hit my revenge game of the year on Tuesday with the Marlins. You'll get 30 days for $30. That's all of June in baseball, and the NBA Finals included one of my high roller platinums going tonight as a bonus. 30 days for $30. Just call 866-546-9467. 866-546-9467.
All right, so we'll take a look at some baseball, and obviously it's a fairly big price game, but sometimes those can offer some something that might be of value. And the Dodgers and Cubs continue their series. They've been shutouts so far in this series. The Dodgers got blanked on Monday, and that was a game in which the starting pitcher for the Cubs got hurt early, had to leave the game, and Travis Wood in the bullpen, I believe, pitched 7 perfect innings. And then yesterday the streak ends. Jake Arrieta, 23 straight starts where the Cubs had won the ball game, and it comes to an end. Yesterday they got shut out by the Dodgers. Bolsinger and Lester tonight, so it's another big price. Cubs are heavy favorites in this game. I think we were both kind of looking at this as maybe the best option might be the total.
Well, yeah, I can see the total being in play here. I think there's value there, but the Dodgers have been playing pretty well lately. And on the road, they've had some luck in this ballpark over the years. And the Cubs, after that absolutely hot start, have been a little bit more marginal lately. So they lose yesterday with Arrieta. I see there's value here with the Dodgers as well.
Yeah, pretty good sized price of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Bolsinger's interesting because he's got to get his breaking stuff over. It's just huge for him. If he can't command his stuff, he gets lit up. He can't get by on a bad day. There are some pitchers, and I think Lester you can put in that category, who either their stuff is so good or they're just such savvy veterans that even when they don't have their best stuff, they can manage to sneak through. Bolsinger's unfortunately not at that level. He's a back of the rotation guy all the way, a 4 or a 5 starter, and it could very well be that when the Dodgers get their bodies back, and we don't know what's going to happen with Alex Wood, he might be headed to the DL now with some kind of an elbow issue. But I would think Bolsinger's the odd man out eventually if they get Ryu back and it doesn't turn out to be anything of substance with the guy who just went down that I mentioned. And also they've got Urias, who did not have a very good debut. He's back up with the big club, and he's going to get plenty of starts where he'll be successful as well. I have a tendency to lean to the under in this game. It's not one I'm going to play, but I think Lester can control the Dodgers, who sometimes can be really bad against lefties. And, total's 8.5, so we're not looking at a game where the wind is going to be blowing out.
The wind doesn't look like it's a factor
Right.
in the game. When you get big price games like this, you're looking at this kind of a number in the game with the Cubs. 185, you're taking back 175 on the dime line. That isn't when they have a shaky favorite in your mind, there's not bad. If you're a $200 better, you want to throw $50 on the dog. I mean, it's not that much to lose. You're losing 50 to gain a pretty good number back. And I think it's worth a play on the dog, and I do like your under as well. Although I am looking at a leaner line here in a very hot space where they have 8.5 over 15.
Oh.
That's not a good indication for the under.
Okay, one other thing if you're taking the big dog, if you can get ahead early, get lucky enough to get a 2 or 3 run lead, you get live betting out there where you can come back and guarantee yourself a profit.
And we're
So
going
it
to talk
does
a
set
lot
up
about live betting when we get to the NBA segment.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, one other baseball game tonight, the Mariners and Padres. Now, they've been in Seattle the last couple of days, and now they shift down to San Diego to complete this interleague series. And yesterday was an absolute nightmare for James Shields. He doesn't even make it through the third inning, gives up 10 runs. The Mariners obviously killed the Padres in this game. So San Diego will have a little revenge on their mind tonight. Christian Friedrich's been, I guess, a pleasant surprise of sorts. He's been a kind of a quad-A guy over the years, came up in the Rockies organization, and hasn't really displayed staying power at the big league level. Felix Hernandez certainly has. King Felix on the mound for Seattle. But, Jim, we're seeing what happens as pitchers get older and the velocity starts to drop. And when he's not sharp with his location, even King Felix now becomes a guy who's vulnerable to getting blasted.
No question.
It's no longer an automatic that you just look at the Mariners when he's pitching and say, well, either lay the price or leave it alone. He's a guy you can go against now.
You know, as these guys get a little older, you're actually better off being, if you're the guy, being a little bit of a junk ball pitcher rather than a fastball pitcher, because if you lose velocity and you're throwing garbage up there, it actually helps
tough
you.
Adjustment.
And if you can get placement. I mean, this San Diego team is absolutely horrendous. I mean, they're on a 3-12 run, 1-12 against right-handed pitchers. Their offense is 27th in runs. I mean, they're a disaster. And Seattle, they can put runs up on, they got a 30-21 record, 18-7 away.
Oh, they've been amazing away from City. They've won. I think they've won every series on the road so far this year.
And you don't see many times that you're going to get a $1.75 favorite on a road with Seattle. I mean, it just shows you how bad the other side is.
It does. But the way Seattle's played on the road and the way the Padres are they're actually passable against lefties. They've got some righty hitters who can hit lefties, but against righties, they're hopeless.
This is where I'd go with this game. And I'm actually going to put this in my pocket. I already have it in my pocket. Minus 1.5 runs with Seattle in this spot.
And hope it's one of the good nights for Felix.
Yeah.
He still has more good nights than bad nights.
He could give up 6 runs and still win at 8-6.
Yeah, he could. If you want to ask us any Vegas sports wagering questions at any time, it's pretty easy to do exactly that. The first thing you got to do is go to ProLineTV.com and be sure to hit the subscribe button to get 7 days of action free. And then if you want to ask questions and things like that, it's very simple. Just do it, and we'll be happy to answer what you've got here on the show.
Absolutely. Plus, go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, podcasts, my free fast facts, which really apply to basketball and football. Plus, you'll get plays from the nation's top handicappers.
All right, coming up, we are going to look at Game 1. It's on Thursday night. And boy, I'll tell you what, the sports world is waiting for this awesome series to unfold. Number 1 seed versus number 1 seed. A little tougher for one of them to get there than some people thought it would be, but they came back from a great deficit to get to the finals. Cleveland's rolled through the East. We'll tell you what we think is going to happen as the NBA Championship Series gets underway. That's next. Cavaliers and Warriors. Cleveland has stampeded through the East. They won 8 in a row to start off, actually 10 in a row to start off. Had a 2-game stumble in Toronto, and then got back on track and just nailed them in games 5 and 6. But you can argue they haven't played anybody yet. The Eastern Conference is soft. The Warriors have gone through a couple of tough teams already. I thought Portland, because of the Curry injury, was a tougher, reasonably tough opponent. And obviously what they did against Oklahoma City was spectacular. Coming back from a 3-1 deficit, a lot of the talking heads on the networks were, that's it, they're done. They ran out of gas. Well, I guess they found an extra tank someplace because they were brilliant in the last 2 games, coming back in the second half of Game 6 and then doing it again in Game 7. Thompson, Curry, these other role players that are out there, I mean, they're just a loaded basketball team. But the question is, can they maintain the momentum that they're coming out of Game 7 with against Oklahoma City, and are they going to be a little worn down going into this series against Cleveland?
All good questions, all good points. I have a little bit of a difference in how they won this last series against OKC. Personally, I think OKC, if you look at the teams they put on the floor, every position, not just Curry and Thompson, because you really can't match up with those two guys that well. But the rest of the team, I actually think OKC might have had an edge team-wise. But mentally, OKC is losing it. They've lost it. And it goes to Westbrook mostly and some Durant as well. These guys are not championship players at this point in their career. They're great players, but they throw it away. There are games when Westbrook, a point guard, had 8 turnovers and 1 assist. You're a point guard. Your whole job out there is to assist your other players. And he did a terrible job at times. And down at the end of the game, this team led the league in blown leads in the fourth quarter. There's a reason for that, and I think we saw it in Game 5, Game 6, Game 7. We saw what they can do when their mental goes totally away. Physically, they're a talented team and very well could have won. But when it comes to Kerr and his group of players, well coached, lots of great role players, the biggest problem they have is down low because they're not that talented underneath. These guys have this unbelievable ability to hit three-point shots from 40, 45 feet where nobody ever guards them. And when they do get guarded, they shoot over 7-foot guys. So it's very difficult to know how you can beat this team.
I don't understand this, and maybe somebody out there can explain it to us because we both kind of feel the same way on this. There are 2 players often on the floor at the same time, not named Curry and not named Thompson and not named Green, who are liabilities at the foul line. Bogut and Iguodala is not a good foul shooter. Why is there no hack of Bogut taking place? To me, don't you want to limit the possessions? I mean, if they make both free throws, that's the way it's go. But if you can hold them to one for 2 or 0 for 2, I'll tell you what, that's not a bad idea considering those other guys that are on the floor.
You're absolutely right. And I was tweeting this out during the game, in Game 6 when Thompson lit it up for 11 threes.
Yes.
Okay. And that game was back in OKC, and he's coming down and he's just hitting everything.
He kept him in the game.
He didn't even. He could have been out in the parking lot and he wouldn't have missed. But when they're coming down the floor, you got Bogut on the floor, you got these other guys on the floor that can't shoot. Foul them. Take the ball out of his hands. Even if he makes 2, you're saving 1, because it was ridiculous coaching. I thought Billy Donovan did a terrible job in several games, not just that game, in making moves. I think he allowed the players to make decisions which it shouldn't happen. First year in the pros, he's got a lot to learn if he's going to keep up with a guy like Kerr, or then you start throwing him up against that. Against Lou, that would have been a different kind of a matchup because he's a guy that's kind of fresh as well. But you're going up against some guys here that can really coach.
Well, I'll tell you that's for sure. And I like what Lou's done with the Cavaliers. Certainly the team's buying into his energy, and they've been a better basketball team since David Blatt left and Tyronn Lue took over. So here we go with this matchup. And the first thing that people talk about, and I can't argue this, is that, last year the Cavaliers lose Love to an injury. Irving gets hurt. And yet they were very competitive against the Warriors. So I do think it's fair to suggest that the Cavaliers are not going to go in this with any fear of Golden State. And that is perhaps the most important factor right out of the gate is the team has to be convinced they can win. And I think Cavaliers, and I don't think they're going to win as far as the series goes, but I do think Cavaliers think they're going to win. And that's really important in terms of sizing up a series.
It should be competitive.
Yep.
They have added a couple pieces. Fry, number 1, who can hit from outside.
He can drag guys out there, too.
Pardon me?
He can drag big guys out there, too.
That's true. They are healthier. Love's there. Irving is there. Somebody's going to have to guard Thompson and Curry, and that's a difficult proposition, especially if they go off on you. Now, underneath, I think Cleveland has a chance underneath. I think the softest guy underneath is Love. And I don't know that he can play at this level of physicality that the Spurs can, or not, the Warriors can play at. So I think that's a problem. Last year when they played against us, LeBron took over those games. And when the Warriors went small, and I don't remember what game they decided to go small. I think it was game 4. And once they went small, they started to take over that series. And now I believe that Cleveland can go small with them because they do have a quicker Love on the floor and Kyrie Irving on the floor. So I think it's going to be a better series than a lot of people think it's going to be. Now, granted, the line is 6. A lot of places are looking at 5.5. So you're looking at 5.5 at 6. It's looking at it today, 210, 210.5 for the total. I think the games are going to be competitive. I'm not saying the Dog's going to cover every game, but let me go back to this. There were 13 games played in the conference finals. Do you know how many times the point spread mattered?
I'm going to say not too many.
None.
How about 0?
Not one cover. If the Dog covered, they won the game. They didn't need the points. So everything was a money line bet. Point spread did not matter. So I don't know if that's going to continue, but that is an unbelievable run.
And I will have a play on game 1, which I'm not going to give out here. Call the service and get the play. I think it's good play. Been doing well in the NBA playoffs. Meanwhile, viewers can get free plays every single day from us, Jim. Or just get right to their cell phone. It's very easy.
Absolutely. You just go to text in GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827. You'll get free plays every day right to your cell phone. You just pick up your phone. It's right there. We'll tell you who to play, and it's absolutely free. Text GAME, 25827.
Meanwhile, football numbers are going up earlier than ever. It's like casinos are in a battle with each other, which is it's good for the players because they're putting up numbers on the NFL, college football. They're going up now. You can bet on this stuff right now at the various books around Nevada. We're going to talk some NFL when we come back. We have a few different things that we want to cover in today's show as far as the NFL is concerned. One of them, they've got odds. You can bet on all kinds of things now for the National Football League. Even if you've got good opinions, though, there are some things that are just not worth betting. And one of these is we've got odds on making the playoffs or not. You might have a strong opinion on one team or another, but they're kind of robbing you as far as the price is concerned. I mean,
horrible.
These are just not good bets. You got to look for value when you bet. And this is one where, for instance, let's just take it off the wall team. Let's say the Buffalo Bills. Now, they right now would be, I think it's fair to say, and also ran in terms of where they're projected in the AFC East. But they're only plus 180 to make the playoffs. So even if you think the Bills are going to break through, move forward this year with Rex Ryan in his second year and Taylor starting for his second year, et cetera, the team probably a little better than they were last year. Plus 180 is just not good enough. You got to give me more.
It's not a good enough price. I could make a case for Buffalo because they are a competitive team. They have changed coaching. They got some style changes, added some players. And you have issues with Brady and all that stuff going on up there. Miami is still looking for a place to land, with talent and everything, and their coaching changes and everything else. So there's not a lot. And the Jets, of course, without the quarterback issue, they refuse to pay Fitzpatrick.
Well, that's something we want to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to get into that too. But let's talk about another team. Talk about a price. What would you make the chances of San Francisco making the playoffs?
Right.
And let's look at who is in their division. They've got the Rams, which questionable. Who knows what they're going to do? But then you have Arizona and you got Seattle. Okay, so if Arizona and Seattle, which are kind of co-favorites to win that division, Seattle a little bit more, that means how the heck does San Francisco get there? How do they win the division? How do they become a wild card? We know how bad they are, same as kind of Cleveland. And San Francisco getting 900 to 1? It should be 90,000 to 1. There's no way. This is where the books.
Actually, not.
Is that
no, they're only getting 600.
Oh, the 600 to 1.
The no is minus 900.
Oh, I got you. So that's. Oh my God. So that's even worse. So I mean, this is where the books get. You talk about vig. You're not laying 11 to 10 here. You're laying about 11 million to 10 to get that bet in. So you really have to shop for prices, and sometimes these proposition bets are just not worth it. And if somebody allowed you to parlay, and this might be hard to find, San Francisco not making it, Cleveland not making it, to name like 5 teams that you absolutely know are not going to make it to the playoffs in your mind, and parlay that, you would probably get at least a price that you could live with.
You could put the Chargers in that group.
You probably could, yes.
If San Diego's in the playoffs, that's going to be a pretty big shock to a lot of people. Now, the Jets are an interesting team. They've got a quarterback situation right now. I mean, they've got 2 young guys they're hoping develop. They've got the kid from West Virginia, Geno Smith, who hasn't panned out. And then there's the Fitzpatrick situation. The Jets players are making it clear who they want.
They're pissed, yes.
Well, you've got one guy, Decker. He caused a little bit of a ruckus last week because he skipped all the team practices.
And there was somebody else.
Brandon Marshall
yes.
did too.
Yeah.
So they're saying, look, we want Fitzpatrick. The problem is that Fitzpatrick doesn't like the offer, particularly. It's 3 years, $24 million, and it's not configured the way he wants it.
I don't blame him. They paid $17 million to Osweiler. This guy hasn't ever done anything. He doesn't have the experience that Fitzpatrick has. They're in a position to win this division. They could win this division. It's not impossible for them to step up and beat the Patriots. That is not impossible for them to do that.
Here's the difficulty. I'll take the team side for a moment. Fitzpatrick's a bridge. The Jets want him as a bridge quarterback. They're hoping that either Petty or Hackenberg. Good luck with Hackenberg. I mean, I just never saw anything in the colleges at Penn State to suggest he's an NFL quarterback. But the Jets like him, and I've been wrong before. That's for sure. Maybe they'll be right. But their hope is that Fitzpatrick's just a bridge quarterback because they don't want to start Geno Smith. And that's the problem: is can you pay a guy that kind of a price structure for 3 years when you really only want him for 1?
Dave, I got to make an argument for this.
I'm just saying with the Jets, that's the Jets
I know where they're coming from, but as a business person, they pay kids coming out of college.
I know.
A ton of money just to sign. This guy wants $17 million a year. They paid that to a couple other guys in the league. He's proven himself. The Jets players like him. They trust him. They have faith in him. And the Jets players all have limited careers. There's only a certain number of years that they can play football at a high level and possibly make it to the Super Bowl and win the championship. You mentioned a couple guys, Marshall and Decker. How many years do they got?
Yeah.
They have a chance with a guy like this, if you can keep him healthy and a couple things happening in their division, to get into play. I don't blame them for being pissed. I'd be pissed too, because they're paying big bucks to kids coming out of school. They paid Johnny Manziel with all the red flags coming out of college, and this guy, we all knew he couldn't play. We all knew he wasn't big enough, he wasn't fast enough, and he had off-field problems with all kinds of partying and drugs, no discipline. But they paid him a fortune over in Cleveland.
No, welcome to Cleveland.
So why not pay that kind of money to a guy like Fitzpatrick? A, he's smart, B, he's experienced, and C, he had a good year.
He's serviceable.
So I cannot make a financial decision on not paying him that kind of money when you compare what's going on in the league with other players. I think it's a bonehead move, and I hope he signs somewhere else for good money.
There is already a betting line on the Super Bowl as far as the conference is concerned, and the NFC is -1, total 49.5, which interests a lot of people because, well, wait a minute, didn't the AFC just win the Super Bowl? They did, and I was one of the ones on the Denver Broncos. Let's just say I'm happy I cashed the ticket.
What, they have 95 yards in the whole game?
They weren't real good in that football game, but they happened to win. The NFC's favored because it's a little stronger conference.
They should be more than 1.
I think you're getting a little bargain.
I think it's a bargain at 1. Yeah. I mean, you got Arizona, you got Seal just out of 1 division, the possibility. Of course, now when you look at the AFC, there is a team that I'll give it to right here. I really think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the best AFC team this year.
I like that team.
And if they went up against anybody in the NFC, I'm not going to have an easy time making the NFC a favorite over them. That's today. This is July or June.
But I think that's see, we just talked about something that's probably not a good bet, which are those odds to make the playoffs where you're just not getting the best of it. This is just a flat line, and if you think one conference has more good shots at winning the Super Bowl than the other, the line's 1. go ahead and take advantage of it.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
I think we're running short on time, so we're going to wrap it up. But if you want to get free plays every day on a recorded message, it's very easy to do so. It's toll free, 1-888-478-9222. That's 1-888-478-9222. Free plays on tape every day.
Also, at ProlineTV.com, click on the subscribe button and get notifications on new videos. Plus, you'll get sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
And we want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll do it again next week. In the meantime, for Jim Feist, I'm Dave Cokin. Thanks for watching Proline. Have yourselves a great betting week. We'll talk to you next time.